Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webcast. This is a webcast that is part of the OSLC webcast series, an ongoing series covering a variety of interesting topics for the OSLC community. If you are interested in looking at past webcasts, they are all recorded, many have slides available, and there's also a resource page for this particular webcast where you will find the recording at a later date. You can find all the list of presentations by going to oslc.co/resources/presentations. My name is Sean Kennedy, and I'm the Community Development Leader for OSLC, and I'm also the Operations Coordinator of the OSLC Steering Committee. So today I think we have an excellent webcast, and this webcast I think shows us puts to reality the thesis, gives some proof to the thesis we have that OSLC is a great solution for integration, and it's in fact a general solution to integration for the general integration problem. As you may know, OSLC started very much in the realm of developer tools, and of course is still used very extensively in that field today. But what we will see in this presentation is how OSLC is also being used in a whole other, to solve a whole other set of integration problems as they exist in systems integration field. So we are very fortunate to have Fernando Moraes, who is from Icaro Technologies, to be our presenter today. Fernando has 11 years of experience in the systems integration industry, ranging from software development and solution architecture to IT service management advisory. More recently has been responsible for the transformation of innovative technologies into products that fit customer needs. This is at Icaro Technologies. So Fernando, I now give control to you.
Okay.
Please take away.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. So today we'll be talking about system integration and OSLC and data federation, right? So these are the main subjects we'll be talking about today. Just to start, I'm going to talk about what we do. Like I said to Sean before, we are for 11 years and for 15 years actually in the system integration industry. We have offices here in Brazil, but projects worldwide. And basically what we do is system integration, and we have some products also that address common issues of our customers. But we started in the system integration industry, and basically, just for you to know, the types of solutions we work with we started with the systems and network management solutions, so event management, performance management, and then we started growing our portfolio through service management, asset management, security management, and more recently to business rules and optimization and analytics. My background is mostly from the service management business unit here, but I have been talking with many of these guys of the other groups because currently I am at the R&D group at Icaro. We developed those products that I was talking to you before. And I'm going to show you a little bit one of these products and how we used OSLC to give the ability to that product to interact with many more data sources. Most of our customers, they come from the telecommunication market, but we have also in the financial services and retailer. Most of the slides are companies from Brazil, but you can identify some worldwide brands like Avaya, Avon, and BT, and others. And in this context, what is our clients' top 3 concerns, right? So mostly from the telecommunications market, but also from other industries. Usually they ask us to provide solutions that improve service availability, that, and they want to quickly launch new services because of the competition. Here in Brazil, there's a lot of competition in the telecommunications market, and the service availability also is a big issue because of the regulations on the service quality. And of course, everybody wants to reduce costs and increase operational efficiency. So in this context, why do we talk about data federation and OSLC? I'll start with a short story. How we got started with OSLC was recently, last year. A few months before, we actually played a little bit with OSLC, but we didn't go for just a proof of concept for one of our customers. But we didn't investigate in details. But then, at the end of the year, IBM invited us to try OSLC and demonstrate the system integration capabilities at POST, because we've been working with IBM for a long time, and they know that we are in the system integration for a long time. So we started learning OSLC and built prototypes for both a data provider and a data consumer, so both sides of the integration using OSLC. And then we got surprised because we plugged our prototypes at POST this year. POST is a Tivoli worldwide event. Takes place in Las Vegas, for those that doesn't know. Early this year, and immediately data from 5 new providers started showing up on our dashboard, which is the application that we use to consume the data from the providers. So we are expecting other providers to show up because we designed the application. But if you realize that there was no code involved to plug in these 5 new providers of information to our dashboard, no even configuration, no downtime. Our dashboard was running and just plugged in, and all the providers showed up. And most importantly, no bugs or issues. We were acquainted to developing integrations, and we usually have endless meetings with the other parties to set up the details of the integrations. And it was surprising because we didn't even know who would be integrating to our dashboards. And people start coming to our pedestal and saying, well, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. And we are doing part of the information of you're showing your dashboard is coming from our system. So we didn't even need to talk to these people. And that was very interesting from an integration company point of view. So that's why that grabbed our attention. So because usually we have a lot of problems with the standard integration approach. So one of the integration approaches that we do for our customers when they request is data replication. But data replication brings a few problems, right? So the biggest one is inconsistency. So if you need to replicate data in the consumer side, usually we do not have the most updated information available. So you have 2 watches. You don't know which information is correct, and that brings problems to your operations. Also, you may have so much data that it's not even feasible to replicate all that data from place to place, and because of the storage costs and things like that. And if the data changes very frequently, it doesn't make sense also to replicate the data. So, for example, if you are troubleshooting an incident that service desk representative is working on, and he needs to know the CPU usage of a computer system, it doesn't make sense to replicate that data. So replication will not solve many problems in the integration, many of the integration problems. The other approach is the point-to-point integration. Everybody knows about it. That was the standard a few years ago, and that's why we have so many problems. Usually we see those problems in the telecommunication service providers. The amount of systems they have and the point-to-point integrations makes it very difficult to introduce new services. And when new systems are incorporated, you need to change everything, because the applications that are running already, they will not be aware of new providers of information, so you need to tweak everything, and that is costly. Of course, we have the enterprise service bus, which is a good alternative, because we'll integrate once to the bus, and other applications will consume information, but still doesn't have some features that we can find in OSLC, like this easy navigation I'm going to show you, and there's no data semantics. So that's why we are looking at OSLC very carefully, with a lot of perspectives. Based on the story I just told you about the post this year, we started looking back at our own integration projects, and then we started doing some calculations. And we took a project we had with more than 10 system integrations that we need to build, test, deploy, and provide support, and evolve those plus than 10 integration across 2 years. And then we got to the figure that we estimate that we could have saved like $2 million if we could use OSLC during those 2 years with these 10 integrations. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to write a blog entry showing the calculations, so we can go into details about this type of cost savings. But also we have the operational improvements. I come from the IT service management area, and we know that there are some procedures of the service desk analysts, change analysts, configuration management analysts that definitely require real-time information for decision making. So one of the numbers we have based on our experience is that as much as 70% of critical incidents may be due to lack accurate real-time information in the change management process. So people make the change planning without having the right information in hand, and then when they implement the change, they either have an incident right away or in a few days or later. So this is because of lack of information. And even if the information is not enough for the change analysis to approve the change, suppose in this change process there is an approval phase, which is pretty common in the telecommunications industry, for example. If the information is not available and they can sell that change, there's a lot of rework to prepare the change again. So again, having information, right information available, it's key if you want to save money and increase operational efficiency. And then how data federation and OSLC can help with that. So data federation is not a new concept. Those that have been working with CMDBs know what it is about. Basically, we have to define identifiers for the entities, for the configuration items, but you can use federation for incidents, bugs, tickets, whatever. Then you have an index where you can search that index for these entities. And then you allow the consumers to directly access the data from the providers. So federation is basically that. You have the identifiers, an index that you can search, and then you provide the direct access. And what's the results we can get with federation? So you do not need to replicate data. You keep only the data in your system that you need, and when you need the details or information that changes frequently, you go and request on demand. Okay, so we do not need to create point-to-point integrations because you have an index, and because of the OSLC is open and it's an open standard, it's HTTP. You can consume the information from the providers very easily. And you can add new providers and consumers to the environment without change. Okay, so ultimately it means that each application will perform specialized management of aspects of the same entity. So suppose you have a computer system, you can have an application for inventory, another one for configuration management, system health monitoring, capacity planning, and we will not be replicating data between them. So that's the beauty of the data federation. And so how OSLC helps with federation? So for those that doesn't know, OSLC stands for Open Services for Lifecycle Collaboration. It's a community of people that there's a lot of experts discussing common problems and solutions, and they publish specifications. I'm not going to the details of OSLC here, but I'd like you to remember three basic concepts just for this presentation. One is resource. A resource is an entity defined by OSLC. It can be a computer system, bug, change, ticket, whatever. Another concept is the service provider concept, which is the index, the application that has the details of that resource. So for example, the CMDB can be a service provider for configuration management information about that resource. ITM may be a service provider for health information about that resource. And then a third concept is the service provider catalog, which is the index or yellow pages that will enable OSLC clients to find the service providers and find resources. So the basic principles is behind the OSLC is that it's built on World Wide Web architecture, so it's very loosely coupled. There's a standard data representation, so there's semantics on it. Use HTTP as a naming convention, so you can look up those names very easily. I'm going to show that in the demonstration. Okay, you can link to the other URIs, so it's very easy to navigate. Okay, and so how it allows for data federation? So the key concept here is the service provider catalog concept. So it's the directory of providers and their resources. It will keep only the identification data about the resources. So the ID, the common key that we need to tell, well, I'm talking about this particular computer system, okay? And it provides reconciliation ability, okay? So if you have a computer system information being provided by many providers, the service provider catalog can reconcile that information. And it is also known as registry. So it will have like a list of providers and a list of their resources. Another way of federating data using OSLC feature is using the UI preview. So by using the UI preview, you can gather information from all the sources on demand, and you can actually show that in like a tab-like interface. And you can compare that versus launching multiple applications. So suppose you need licensing information and you need to open another application, work orders related to a particular computer system, change history, health information. If you need to open several applications, you're actually reducing the efficiency of your operations. And that in telecommunications is very critical. You remember that the requirements from our customers, they need the service to be up and running all the time. So if an incident occurs, they need to be quick to identify the root cause. Opening a lot of applications is not a good idea in this case. And we can do HTTP operations on the registry to create a new resource, delete resources, update resources. So the providers can use that operations to interact and also the consumers. Because it's on top of HTTP, you can query the registry. I'm not going to the details of this slide because I'm going to show this live, but you can query using just an HTTP request. Okay, so I'm going to show this how it works in the demonstration. So what was our experience with OSLC? So before going into what we did, let me just talk about JAS for service management. This is IBM's implementation of OSLC compliant components. So there's a lot of components, but we've been working mostly with the registry. We also have seen a little bit about the security part and the administration, but for this demonstration, we're going to use the registry only. And then for post this year, we had first thing we need to learn. So there is a learning curve, very short, 1 to 2 weeks. And if you have some background on RESTful web services and Java programming, that will help a lot. But it's not difficult to learn. And then we created an OSLC facade that took like 3 weeks. It's a Java application. I'm going to demonstrate that later on. And therefore, we created that to expose a third-party application data to consumers. So basically, we use the CMDB from another vendor, and we communicated with the CMDB and brought information into OSLC format. Okay, so then you can say, okay, but then you need a facade for every application that you have. Well, we expect that step by step, other vendors and other applications will be able to talk or speak OSLC. But if not, it's very easy to create this facade, and it's very reusable, it's very generic, and it can be applied to many projects, so it's not a big issue in our opinion. Next, what we did, we created the consumer application. Actually, we had already an application. We just created a widget in our dashboarding product that is OSLC aware. So in 2 weeks or less, we had our dashboarding application being able to consume OSLC information from other providers. So the final scenario for the demonstration at Pulse was we have the CMDB, the facade, and then other OSLC consumers and providers in the environment, and our own consumer, which is the Advanced Dashboards application. And how it works, I'm going step by step. So we have a setup phase in which the provider registers itself on registry, which is the IBM JAS for Service Management. It says, well, listen, I have here I am a provider of configuration management information, okay? And also, it registers the configuration items available. So it tells Jazz, by the way, I have here this list of configuration items that I have details about it. So if any consumer wants information about those configuration items, you can ask me and I have that information. Okay. Yes.
Fernando, I do have a question in the chat, and I think it's relevant here. And
okay.
The question is this facade that you're talking about similar to an OSLC adapter, as is mentioned in the OSLC documentation? And maybe, so in my opinion, yes, it is the same kind of idea. With an adapter, you are using the facade pattern in order to enable another application with OSLC. So it's just another name for the same thing.
That's correct. It's just an adapter, okay? So many of these applications, like the DMC, CMDB, and usually the big vendors' applications, they have many open protocols to communicate. So you can access the database, use web services, APIs, and other options. So the facade is just an adapter for those protocols to OSLC. Okay. So if we go to the provider side, the consumer side, so first thing the consumer does is it requests a list of providers. So advanced dashboards would say like, hey, please give me a list of configuration management information providers. So Jazz would return, hey, I have here 5 providers. Icaro's provider, ITM, TADM, which are IBM products, Orb Data, which is another business partner, and Musalasoft, and it will provide a list to our dashboard. And then on demand, the dashboard will request, hey, give me the ID or the URL for this particular configuration item from a specific provider. So Jazz will provide that link. And with that link, the consumer can go directly to the facade, in this case, and request the details. So what the facade will do, it will request the details from the CMDB itself, and will forward the details back to the dashboard using OSLC. So that's basically what we did. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate that live. So what we have here is a dashboarding application. I'm not going into the details about it, but what we have here is a lot of alarms and relevant information for a telecommunications company. It's a demonstration we have. And there are a few security incidents here related to my infrastructure. So, for example, I have a denial of service attack here. And for me to troubleshoot that, I'll just click that particular incident, and it will bring me a list, more details. So in this case, I'm already using information from the providers. Okay, so my consumer, the advanced dashboards, given that key, which is the configuration item under attack, it is able to go to the providers and request, hey, give me what you have of information available about this configuration item in a UI preview fashion. So as you can see here, we have 3 providers. This is from Musalasoft, another business partner, and this is change management, probably from TADM. At this point, our own provider, our own CMDB is not here. Why? What I'm going to do is I want to show you a little bit about our facade. So we created just a little interface so we can see what's going on behind it. So this is our facade. This is our adapter that will bring information from the CMDB to the OSLC world. So here I have a few information about the registry and provider, the authentication to JAS and all. But most important thing is now I'm going to do what? I'm going to fetch the resources from the CMDB. Okay, so let me come here again and recreate the resources. So these are the resources I've just brought from CMDB. So far, I only have this information on my provider, on Icaro's OSLC facade. What I'm going to do now is register them on JAS. So if I click here, oh sorry, I need to select them all and register. So now it is communicating to JAS, and it is showing me that I have a URI for each of my configuration items on JAS. So now JAS is aware that I am a provider of information of these types of configuration items. So if I come back to my dashboard and click here again, it should bring me a new provider, which is the configuration manager. Remember we had 3, now we have 4. The configuration management information is now available. So I have this information from CMDB, which is the configuration information. And like I said, no downtime, no new code. We just plugged into JAS. So that's how you can save time and money. And if I click here, there's other incidents with other providers. So for this second configuration item for the second computer system, we have, for example, Orb Data, which is another business partner. We have discovery information. We have change management. We have, again, MusalaSoft, configuration management, location information. And these are all provided automatically, okay? So that's the idea. I'll get back to the presentation.
That was very good, Fernando. I do have a question from the chat, though. So how do you manage authentication and permissions to access resources?
Okay. In this demonstration here, we are in an environment in which we connect to JAS, okay, and JAS will list for us all the configuration items that are registered. But once I go to the provider itself, there is, for example, you can use a single sign-on mechanism that I was discussing with the JAS development team, and it's very elegant. So you can single sign on, and you can send credentials, or you can use tokens, and based on your role, you can have access to the information or not. So that's how it works. Okay, so we can go into more details by email, but there is a security mechanism behind, and JAS has a whole security module to handle that.
So all of that is effectively handled by the platform that you're connecting to as a JAS for service management. Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, well, basically, in terms of demonstration, this is what I have to say. And as a summary, I would say that Federation allows for you to create integrations. It's much easier, much quicker. The development costs are very low. You saw that in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we had developed all this environment, and it was not a big team. It was like only 1 or 2 guys, junior guys. They managed to develop all these integrations, And also, if you think about a support change management perspective, the costs will be much lower because you're talking about standards, not proprietary protocols. So my advice would be, if people are planning to build new integrations, consider using OSLC. And IBM is doing a lot of work. If you pay attention to the new releases of the products, they are being shipped with capabilities, OSLC capabilities. There is no license associated with that, so that's for free. And it's an open community. If you want to participate, you can just make your own, propose your suggestions and discuss in that community. So it's very nice. That's my recommendation for you guys that work with integration. So Sean, I don't know if you have other questions.
Right. Well, thanks again, Fernando. This was an excellent presentation, and actually great that you delivered it so concisely. I think you covered a lot of wonderful things. So well done. I will open up the lines now for questions on the phone, and we'll take more questions in the chat. Just as it may take.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
It may take a little while for questions to come up. Fernando, if people were going to get started, what kinds of things would you point them to? Any additional kinds of things that you found helpful?
I have a few slides here. Well, how we started? We started with this document, which is a tutorial. It's an online document. You can just point to this URL, and it's very nice. We started with that, and then there is another tutorial in the wiki, OSLC wiki, which is the integration tutorial. We went through that, also very nice. In the developer works, this is IBM website, but there is a community for just for service management. There's a wiki, and if you navigate to Registry, and there is a getting started, and over there you can find a lot of videos and tutorials, sample codes. There is provider, generic provider source code, which is very helpful. We use that to accelerate the development. And also there is a blog in the same area. You'll find some videos, very good videos, showing how you can do things with OSLC and Jazz, and that I would recommend for people to get started. I think that's it, Shana. Sean, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. I see I was speaking on mute. Sorry.
Okay.
There are certainly some more questions in the chat, and I will get to those. I would also suggest, if you're looking as an implementer to do some implementing, that you take a look at the resources available in the Eclipse Leo project, or if you're a .NET developer in the OSLC for .NET project on CodeFlex. And the Eclipse Leo or the OSLC for .NET, they are a library that helps. There's sets of libraries that help you write your code more concisely, handling a lot of the underlying communication protocol and bringing things off the wire into your objects in a standard way. There's also test suites that can help you validate your providers or the providers you're working against, and samples and reference implementation. So it's a really great way to get started as well, and that is, again, eclipse.org/LYO would be a good place to start. So I've got a couple questions in the chat, and I'll just start with the first one. So looking back at the demo, we did talk about how the security and authentication came from this Jazz for Service Management platform. What other basic services that we saw in the demo came from that platform?
Okay. We have basically the administration, where you can, very similar to what I showed you. You can see the list of providers. You can see a list of resources registered. You can see the reconciliation, jobs, the results. This is the administration part. They have also a dashboarding tool, which is different from the dashboard I showed you here. There is a dashboarding application that you can use. There is the security aspect. There's 5, I guess. Let me get back to the slides here, just a second. In the reporting, right. And the registry, of course. So these are the 5 services. I don't know if there's anyone from IBM that wants to complement, but these are the ones we're aware of and we've been using.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Good, and that answered the question well. It looks like too. The second question we had in the chat is about performance. So, in terms of the performance that you see here, how is this what you're doing using OSLC and linked data? How does that compare to traditional integration? Okay.
If you compare it to web services, which is one of the most common integration mechanisms nowadays, it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar, and you know, we didn't notice a problem with performance. Of course, we didn't do huge tests, but anyway, if you're going to a web services platform and you get into massive data exchange, we have been doing that for our customers in the telecommunication markets, and like they have millions of calls, and they have to handle that in the web services, but you need a good infrastructure to handle that because of the volume. So if you compare to web services, it's very similar. Okay, so that's what I can say about performance.
Right.
Based on what we have tested.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I guess if you're looking from some experience that I've seen, if you're looking at, say, another way that you might do integration is using a data replication, a synchronization type of pattern. And, of course, you now are not doing that at all. So everything that all that power and resource that you had to do, handling the synchronization and the copying of data and figuring out whether, which copy was the newest and merging whatever you might need to do in terms of a very complex replication or synchronization system, you avoid all of that. And so we had at IBM an effort that is still ongoing, but is starting to show some good results. And there actually is a previous webcast about this that you may be able to find if you look through the OSLC.co/resources/presentations, and the link was shared in the chat near the beginning, that they were able to reduce, by replacing with an OSLC strategy, a linked data strategy, they were able to reduce the number of systems that they needed to use to support the integration. This was for basically customer support, handling all the problem requests, all the requests for enhancements, and managing the relationships with the clients in between the customer service professionals and the developers actually working to solve these problems or add the features. So they were able to use fewer systems and spend less time on the administration of those systems as well. So this is a fairly large-scale environment for this type of system. IBM is a very large company. So that is good. Now, there's another question here, and I'm guessing, Fernando, and I may look to someone else from Tivoli who is on the phone to jump in here as well, because I think maybe it is not, it may not even be something that you've heard of. So the question is this: have you looked into implementing Realm? And Realm is a recent contribution, or so Realm is Rational Engineering Lifecycle Manager, and in that case, it may not be relevant to what you're doing. It's more a software and systems engineering tool that assists developers. But as part of Realm, there is something called TRS, Tracked Resource Set, that has recently been contributed to OSLC and is being worked on right now and refined. And I guess one of the things that you can then do with Tracked Resource Sets, one of the functions that Realm provides as a product, is that you can do query and reporting across a range of engineering systems. So it doesn't matter where your defects, they could be stored in multiple systems, even for a single project, and your requirements are somewhere else and your testing data is somewhere else. You could still search across all of that and build a report on that. So I'm guessing, perhaps, Fernando, that this is everything I was just talking about Realm, and TRS may be new to you, coming again from the engineering, systems engineering domain as the foundation. But TRS and what you can do there may be applicable. So is that something that, say, altering the question a bit, do you see a need for, or is there a service that may already be included in the Jazz for Service Management platform that provides something similar?
Okay. Well, it's not my domain, but yeah, I'm happy to hear, because we have some customers that wanted us to integrate the IT service management applications into the actually engineering and software development applications, and actually Jazz came from that domain, and it's very nice when you have an incident and then you have a problem that is related to a source code, bad source code, and you need to fix that. Then you need to relate it to that problem. You need to open a defect, and that's just good to hear that we're going to have that. But I'm sorry, that was a question for me in the end, or?
Yeah, it was a lot of explanation and then a bit of a question.
Okay.
So
I
yeah,
didn't get a question.
I mean, I think really the question is about it comes down to the ability to search and report on data that is across a whole bunch of different systems. So being able to do that at a higher level, not only being able to see a report, say, based on the data inside a single tool, like you have given us the example of adapting BMC, was it Atrium?
Yeah.
So now you could see data, you could have a report on data on everything that is, say, that in your own tool, yeah, or in your interface.
Yes. The nice thing about OSLC is that it allows us to do things like that. So, for example, here is, again, I'm showing on my screen our provider, the facade. So I'm going to show you some information about the registry. and then everything is URIs, right? So with this link, I can ask the Jazz to show me the list of providers. So it's a list of providers available. And in the same fashion, I can go and request the list of resources stored here. So again, I have a list of resources. Each of these lines is related to resources. And then I can do nice things like, for example, you can use where clauses, for example. Instead of bringing me all the resources, just bring me the resources where the manufacturer is VMware. So I just click here, enter, and the list is short, right? It's a short list. So this is the kind of reporting that you can do. Of course, here we have only the ID, but then you can build much richer reports if you go to each of these URLs and get the information you need to do the report. So definitely, it's a very good idea.
I think even just the example that you're showing here, Fernando, of how you're basically just getting the raw data by using your web browser is one of the great advantages to an OSLC-based integration. You can actually test it out using nothing more than a web browser. And this can be quite helpful if you are actually trying to build some kind of report like that, and then even into debugging. Quite interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm getting quite many more questions coming in at this time, but I see that we're only 6 minutes away from the top of the hour. We'll keep going, but when time is up, we will then ask you to start posting questions onto the OSLC forums, and you can reach that by going to oslc.co/forums. So the next question is, I hope I capture this right. So, so is the data semantically federated inside the registry, or is this something that the client tool has to take care of? Figuring out what goes to where, what's associated.
Okay. In terms of semantics, you have some what we call shapes. So, for example, OSLC community will define what is a computer system shape. What is usually we have as attributes for a computer system. So, for example, host name, UUID, memory, amount of memory, disk size, and things like that may be attributes of a computer system, and it's like a shape for that computer system. And if you are communicating with a provider or as a consumer, you need to give at least the basic information. You need to know the basic attributes, like, for example, the key, right? All right. So, for example, usually we use the UUID as key. So the client must be aware of this key in order to do everything that I did here. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able which field is key, which field is not. So, yes, the client must be aware at least the basic information. It needs to be aware. But it's an XML. Everything is XML here, so it's very, very easy to handle that. I can show here, I guess, computer system. Let me see. Okay, I'll open the collection. I have a collection open. Yes. So if I get that URL and open here, it will show me a URL, and you can see that you have model, and you have the system board UID. There's the IP address. But the consumer doesn't need to know everything about it. It just needs, for example, the system board UID for the key. and then the provider will give all this information. But all this XML has been defined. The computer system is well-known shape. And you have shapes for bugs, change requests, and everything else.
Right. Yeah, and all those shapes, as you see at the top of this XML, are defined in RDF.
Correct.
And that can be, so RDF XML is a serialization format. There exist other ones, including, you could put it into JSON, you could put it in something called Turtle, and of course you could also have this kind of thing displayed as HTML if that makes sense for you as well. Well, I see we're really just at the end of time. So those adding new questions at this time, I'm sorry. Please go and take a look at the OSLC forums and post your questions there. And Fernando or others will come by to ask them. Fernando, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Thank you for everyone who joined us today, asked questions, and everyone who's also watching this on a recording later on.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Participants are now in listen-only